or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. This video is going to show how to do a simple cast on. So hopefully by now you know how to set up your knitting machine and thread your yarn last. And today I'm going to show you how to do a very easy cast on. So you're going to need your needle pusher. I have my 1x1 needle pusher, and I'm going to bring forward 20 needles. These are the needles on your knitting machine. You can bring them forward to several positions. Let me show you quickly what I mean. So on your knitting bed, you have several positions. It's marked A, B, D, and E. These are all positions your needles can stay in. Position A is a non-working position. When the needles are in this position, they do not knit. B is your normal working position, and this is where the needles are when they are knitting. Then when you want to knit a pattern, you or your machine will select the needles to D position for pattern knitting. Patterns like Fair Isle, lace, tuck stitch, skip stitch. Then your needles come to E for holding. This is a holding position. When the needles are at E position and you have set your holding cam to hold, this is a hold position on this machine. This is a normal position, hold, normal. So once you've set this to hold, if you knit across the needles set to E position, they will not knit. But if you take your holding cam back to normal position and you knit across, it will knit the needles back to the normal working position. So I just wanted to show you guys that before we go to how to cast on. So one more thing before we proceed. I don't have a number strip on my machine. We've lost it somewhere. But you can still tell what needle position you are looking at by looking at these notches on your knitting bed. On your knitting bed, right in the center, there is a flat bar here. That's the center of your knitting machine, and there's a notch in front of that bar and over here as well. This is a 0 point on your knitting machine, and the way your knitting machine looks at the needles is all the needles to the right of your center. You have 100 needles to the right. So this is the first needle. It counts from the center to the right and from the center to the left. So from this first needle to the next notch, you have 10 needles. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So between the notches you have 10 needles. So once you can find the center of your knitting machine, you can easily tell how many needles you have out. So this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, like that. So I'm going to bring out 20 needles right now on the machine. So when I say I'm going to bring out 20 needles, I mean I'm going to center my work and bring out 10 needles to the right and 10 needles to the left of my center mark, something like this. And I'm using the 1x1 selector, so I'm bringing out the needles in a 1x1 needle arrangement. So I have one needle out to work and one needle in non-working position, and I'm pushing back these needles that I don't need so that I have needles out within the 20 needle range. Once you've done that, you come to your yarn mast and you take your yarn out of the clip, and you're going to place your yarn in the carriage. So let me move my carriage over, and I'm going to turn my tension to 6. This is your tension dial, and what your tension dial does is it determines how big or how small your stitches are going to be. So if you turn it to a lower number, your stitches are going to be smaller and tighter. Your fabric is going to be stiffer. If you turn it to a bigger number, your stitches are going to be looser and your fabric is going to be more flowy. So let's use tension 8 so that my stitches will be slightly bigger and you can see what I'm doing. So we are not going to bother with any of these other buttons and levers right now. We're just going to come to our yarn feeder here. On the yarn feeder, mine is open, this is closed. There are 2 holes. This is the main yarn feeder, and this tiny hole here is for when you want to knit fair isle patterns, which we don't need right now. So I'll open it up, put my yarn in. The tail of my yarn is hanging down. I'm going to hold on to it underneath, and then I'm going to move my carriage across my needles. So so what's happened is my knitting carriage has put loops over those needles that I have out. So now I'm going to take a cast on comb, the short one, and I'm going to place it on these loops that I have here. But I don't want to catch this one going to my knitting carriage, so I'm going to pull it out of the way before I put my comb on the loops that I have there. And then, because I have pulled some slack into that line, I'm going to go and pull on the one coming from the yarn mast to make that line taut. Not too tight. If I pull too tight, see what happens. It starts to pull on those stitches there, so don't pull it too tight. Just enough so that there's no slack on the line there. If you've pulled it too tight, you can pull your needles back just a little bit so that it's wrapped like in an N shape around your needles. Okay, make sure your comb is hanging only on these loops, that it's not hanging on these gate pegs. If it hangs on the gate pegs, your work will not descend and it's going to become a tangled mess. So you're going to go to your toolbox and take out these claw weights in your toolbox. You're going to hang one of them on the comb. Mine is bent, so I'm going to open it up and put the claw weight on the comb like so. Then I'll come back to my needles and bring out all those needles that I had in non-working position and then knit back. As I knit back with my knitting carriage, I hold on to the yarn going into the carriage, because as I come back, there's a tendency that my line is going to get slack again, and I don't want that to happen. Otherwise, I'll have a loop at the end of my work. So I'm going to hold on to it and pull up any slight slack that I have, and then knit across. And here's what I have. So I've got the loops I put my comb on, and I've got stitches that I have knit through. A helpful tip: put a clip on this line so that you don't have to hold on to it. I've lost track of where my clips are. My kids are running away with them, so that's why I don't have any here. But you should have a clip here. So we've cast on. This is a simple cast on, very easy and quick to do. And then you can just go on and knit a few rows. If you want to keep track of how many rows you're knitting, you have a row counter over here that lets you see what you've knit. Right now it's set to 178, but you can easily set everything back to 0. And then you're ready to go. So let's go 20 rows and see what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. My row counter hasn't been counting, and that's because I didn't set my row counter tripper down, but I've been counting manually, so no stress. So that's 20 rows of knitting, and I'm going to just take that off the machine to show you how it is. So to do that, you come to your yarn feeder, you open it up, you take the yarn out under your sinker plate and pull it out. Okay, pull it out of the way towards you. Remove your weight and your comb so that they don't fall on your legs, because we're going to knit our work right off the machine now. When you have no yarn in your carriage and you knit across your work, it's going to drop your work off your machine. There, we've just taken our work off the machine. So this is the lovely thing we have just knit. Now, I'm going to put this yarn on a clip. So this is where we ended. Our stitches are not secured. If I pulled on this yarn, I would start to lose my stitches. So later on I'll show how to bind off and secure those edge stitches. And over here our end looks a bit rough, but we can easily fix that. What you need to do is come to this tail that you started with, this tail, and pull gently. You don't want to cut your yarn, that would be disastrous. Just gently pull, and you can gather in the end there. Later on I'll show you one cool project you can make with this type of cast on. So that's it, guys, how to do a simple cast on. This cast on is actually a hybrid of one that's taught in the manual for machine knitters. If you would like to learn more types of casts on, then watch the next Instagram TV video that we'll have up. That one will show you an E-wrap type of cast on. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and share and invite your friends to come and learn too. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.